That's how Cowboy sounds when he snores. He goes. Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Spooky Chicks and Horror Flicks. We are your hosts, Emma.
And I'm Allie, or Allison, as Emma likes to call me.
Or Demon.
Demon Gremlin.
Or Gremlin.
Little Rat Girl.
Little Rat Girl. Thank you guys so much for tuning back in. This is just our second episode, so we appreciate it nonetheless. But yeah, we are very, very excited to talk about a film today that is a 90s classic called I Know What You Did Last Summer. And this film also kicks off our summer slasher series. So for the rest of summer, we are going to be doing slasher films for our film reviews, and we are super excited for you guys to tune in for those. So Allie, what are we drinking today?
Well, I know it's only our second episode, but if you guys have already listened, I'm pretty sure you can guess what I'm drinking. It is a White Claw, but it's different this time. It's a tall boy White Claw. So it's different.
And I want to preface, she used to like wine, people, so, and she will have it if it is,
good,
what she needs to have. But yeah.
I will, but like
drink of choice is a White Claw.
Drink of choice. Trust me, I'll branch out, people.
And I am drinking another Sauvignon Blanc, but a different one this time.
Okay, so you're
okay.
Also
I have some patterns too. Okay, some trauma, some traumatic patterns. I'm drinking a vintage 2021.
Wow, vintage 2021. Let me see. Feel like
from Bogle Family Vineyards. They sound fun.
Boggle, but we're good.
I like Bogle.
Okay. Sounds like Bagul. From another movie we'll cover at some point, Sinister.
Ooh. That it was a huge request from our gal, Alexa. Alexa, shout out to you and Isaac. We will definitely be doing Sinister at some point.
Sinister is probably one of the scariest movies I've ever seen.
Okay, before we go down that rabbit hole, but 100% agree.
Tangent.
Before we get into everything with the film, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, and all of the fun stuff about that, first off, we want to cheers to episode 2. I don't know if you guys could hear that, but that was can to glass.
Can to glass. It hits different, literally.
It actually hits different. But before we dive into things, I do want to talk about our Rose and Thorn for this last week.
Yeah, I think Emma and I have very similar Roses and Thorns for this past week. We went to Midsummer Scream, held in Long Beach, which is a horror convention. We met so many amazing people who we're going to shout out shortly, but it was just so amazing to be with like-minded people and appreciate all the spooky things in life. And I'm sad we haven't been to this before because it was so amazing.
I think all of us, because we had the producer with us too, like we all just agreed that it was the coolest convention ever. Mm-hmm. Never knew that there were so many cool people that were just like-minded like us, just like Ali said, that like horror movies and spooky things and Halloween, and seriously the nicest people we've probably ever met.
And it's funny because somebody's dressed up in a very convincing like Freddy Krueger or It costume.
Like very scary, bloody, the whole thing. And they're like, oh my God,
hi,
nice to meet you. So that was very fun. But yeah, just like Ali said, we actually do have a few people that we want to shout out. And I'm so sorry if we forget you, but just know that we love you. And, we were so happy to meet you that weekend. But a few people that come to mind immediately are, first and foremost, Tori and Todd from Haunters Paranormal. Mm-hmm. You guys were, I think, the first people we met that weekend, and we love you both so, so much. You guys know who you are, obviously. And I know you guys are listening. You're excited for the next episode. We love you guys, and we can't wait to connect with you guys soon and
collaborate.
Remember, and go on a ghost tour.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. I also want to say that, they were also going by Zach and Aaron on Sunday. But
another story for a different time. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Same story, different time.
Yeah. We'll see if that time ever comes.
If you know, you know. We also want to shout out Matt Hirsch. He was super awesome, and he is a film director, and he has a film coming out. We're super excited for him. We also met 2 bald dudes that have an awesome YouTube channel and do some really cool interviews. Magic Mud, who is a really fantastic magician who's very spooky, and he was fantastic.
He blew my mind.
Yeah, he really blew Allie's mind.
Honestly.
And he put our sticker on his water bottle. We
Yeah.
love you, Magic Mud. Thank you for that. We also want to shout out Raoul of the Dead. You were awesome. Thank you so much for your photos that you took of us this weekend. They were amazing. You are so talented, and we can't wait to, maybe get some photos from you again in the future.
And if you want to see those photos, check out do we have them on Spooky
Yeah, we
Chicks?
have them on our Instagram, just Spooky Chicks Horror Flicks. And yeah, he was just fantastic. We also want to shout out Sam Hain, Hallow Fanatics, Caffeinated Coven, Spooky Girl Cosmetics, Backstitch Bruja. I mean, there were so many amazing vendors that were just so fantastic, so nice. We got so much fun merch. We are actually going to do like a merch haul, and we'll put that on TikTok. You can also find us on TikTok, Spooky Chicks and Horror Flicks. And then Allie also got a fun piercing.
I did. And shout out to Amber and Abby at Curated Body Piercings. I got a helix piercing. I just like to do. I had to, obviously. And shout out to you guys and highly recommend them.
And last but not least, I want to do a special shout out to the most fabulous people that were, again, I know we're saying like everyone was so nice, but these people were fantastic. We got to see you guys multiple times throughout the weekend. And that is Cult Horror Social Club. You guys were so fantastic. I'm actually wearing your shirt right now. It is so amazing. My favorite new shirt. And we got some fun keychains from you guys and can't wait to keep supporting you. I will say that our thorn from that whole thing is just that we're not there anymore.
Yeah, that's between Emma, producer, and I, that's our cumulative thorn. Like, Can it already be next Midsummer Screen, please?
I agree. And also to let us know if you guys know of any other really fun conventions that are kind of like horror or Halloween themed. We would love to go do all of them or as many as we can. They were so fun. I know there's a couple in a couple different states, and I think there's another one coming up in October, but yeah, let us know if you guys have any other ones on our Instagram, DM us. We would love to see you guys there.
Yeah. And at some point we'd love to, have a bigger presence at these. So absolutely let us know.
Well, then moving on to our trivia segment of the episode. So we've got 3 fun trivia questions here. So trivia question number 1 is, who was the first character to be killed in the film? Ooh.
Switching it up.
I feel like that's a hard one.
It is kind of hard. It's a little tricky, and
I have like 2 possible answers in my head, and I'm not going to tell you.
I'm not going to tell you. Number 2 is, what 1998 TV drama was referenced in the popular beach in the film? I know
this one.
Ugh, okay. I'll guess.
Think hard, Allison.
I don't like to think.
Allison.
Allie.
And then number 3, after Helen's hair incident, what side dish did Julie say that the killer made out of her hair?
I almost just choked out my White Claw. That is a funny.
White Claw down.
White Claw down. That's a funny question.
I 100% know this one, only because I think we weirdly rewatched this scene specifically. I'm not going to tell you, but we did rewatch this scene, and she did mention it, but it's fast. It's quick. You can miss it.
Yeah, but low-key trauma for women. We'll talk about it
later.
Oh,
God. Oh, yeah. We will 100% get into that. So, yeah, those are our trivia questions. Hold on to your answers until the end of the episode, and then we will go over what those are and then what Allie and I both wrote down for ours as well.
Winner gets a prize. Just kidding.
But if you see us in person, we'll give you a high five.
Or a sticker.
Yeah. Let us know if you guys want stickers. Before we dive into I Know What You Did Last Summer, I want to give a quick synopsis of the film. 4 young friends bound by a tragic accident are reunited when they find themselves being stalked by a hook-wielding maniac in their small seaside town. So if you have not seen this film, I do want to caution that there will be spoilers. So please stop now if you haven't seen it and go watch it. And if you decide not to watch it and want to keep listening, please proceed with caution. All right. Well, then diving into the actual film now. So again, we are going to be reviewing I Know What You Did Last Summer. This film was made in 1997 and directed by Jim Gillespie. A fun fact about this film is it actually comes from a novel written by a woman named Lois Clark Duncan. I don't think that she fully agrees with it going like full on slasher mode, but I couldn't find like a ton of information about why she was a little adverse to the whole project, but it is kind of interesting that this is sort of based on that novel that she has.
May I have an opinion on that?
Absolutely.
So you'll hear all my notes and opinions throughout this podcast, but I'm pretty sure I know why she didn't want this to be made.
And why is that?
Oh, you'll hear.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we don't know yet. Okay.
You don't know what I did last summer.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And it was not watching this film.
Okay. And it was not Sam Rockwell, unfortunately.
Again. Can we bring up Sam Rockwell in every single
she was in this. Oh my God. Yes. Okay. Moving on. So this film was also written by a man named Kevin Williamson. And a very fun fact about Kevin is that he actually did the screenplay or screamplay for the film Scream a year before this film came out. So in 1996, he wrote Scream and he shopped it around and no one picked it up. Everyone was like, that film is going to flop. There's no way. So he didn't end up producing it at that time. And then I Know What You Did Last Summer gets greenlit and he makes that film and it becomes a massive success at the time. And then all of a sudden, Scream is greenlit as well. And it becomes, this huge, huge classic in horror culture. It's very interesting that it kind of got shot down at first. And then sometimes it just takes like one movie or one trend to really swing things into like the opposite direction.
Well, let me know what you think. Do you think that Scream or I Know We Did Last Summer is a better film?
Do you want me to tell you right now?
Yeah.
Scream 100%.
Thank you.
Because I will forever be a Matthew Lillard stan.
Aren't we all? Oh my gosh.
And if you're not, get off this podcast right now.
Also Billy Loomis. Ugh. I think we talk about him a lot too.
Allie and I also saw like an amazing amount of merchandise at Midsummer Scream that was surrounded around the love of Billy Loomis, and we're 100% here for it. So
I am here for it. Please don't kill me, but yes.
Yeah, please don't kill me, but like I love you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And then this film, I would say, as probably predicted, did not get a very great rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It got a 5.8 out of 10. And, I'm sorry, that was IMDb. And then Rotten Tomatoes was a 45%. So very, very low scores on both of those two platforms. I'm not very surprised.
I am not shocked whatsoever. And I guess this leads into my commentary is I did not like this film.
She doesn't care what you did last summer.
I don't care. I don't even remember what I did last summer.
So like, why do I give two shits about what you did? So one thing to note too is all the people that are in the cast for this were literal heartthrobs during this time in the 90s. I mean, if you ever saw Scooby-Doo, which I'm sure we all did.
Scooby-Doo low-key slaps.
It slaps really hard.
Yeah.
And all of these people are just fantastic. Not all of them
also,
are in Scooby-Doo.
Matthew Lillard is in Scooby-Doo.
Know. Again, Matthew Lillard, we love you. Like Sarah Michelle Gellar, Jennifer Love Hewitt. I mean, even Ryan Phillippe was huge at that time. Cruel Intentions was insane. It's also a really fun fact that Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar actually met on this film, and they've been together ever since. They are married now for like 20 plus years, probably 25 plus years. And it's just so interesting that they met on this film. And this is kind of like what started it all.
Like everybody has, not everybody, but a lot of people have three names in their name. It's like Jennifer Love Hewitt, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Freddie Prinze Jr. I'm like, what if I call you Emma Elizabeth Arrett every single time I see you?
And what if I call you Allison Louise Much every time I see you?
Please don't. It's a mouthful.
It is. You just never know. Yeah.
And it's a stacked cast and it's very 90s. We've got not only all of those people, but Ryan Phillippe, heartthrob. We got Anne Heche, R.I.P.
My God, Anne Heche.
I loved Anne
very,
Heche.
very sad, but she, we miss her. We're sorry.
And we got Johnny Galecki, Max in the film. And something that is close to my heart is he was in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. My mom's going to hate this because she hates this movie. But he plays Rusty. And one iteration of Rusty. If you know the series, Rusty's different every time. So I was just like, what are you doing in this film?
I know, and he's like so mean in it. And like, I'm not used to him being like an asshole in something.
I also put down, he might have been the best actor in this film.
I would not doubt that. Would not doubt that. But yeah, so that's like kind of like where our top build cast is. And then in terms of just like the setting, the film actually takes place in Southport, North Carolina. And I'm going to admit that I've never actually seen Outer Banks, but it weirdly gives me like Outer Banks vibes from what I have been exposed to, of just like teens in a beachy environment, very Hollister Abercrombie. I don't know. I'm just like feeling those vibes.
So I'm not sure if I'm happy to admit this or like sad to admit this. I'm a 32-year-old and I have seen all of the seasons of Outer Banks. No judgment. So has producer. Okay, great.
Now I feel left out.
John B, what's up? Well, also we should go to North Carolina. It seems beautiful. But the first, the like pivotal shots in the beginning are actually filmed in California, because all of us while we were watching are like, these are not cliffs of North Carolina. You can tell by the sun and the moon.
I know, just the direction of the sunlight makes no sense of like where it's supposed to be.
So the first shots are on the coast of California, which is where we live, obviously. The rest I'm totally willing to believe is in North Carolina, but it's pretty evident that the cliffs are not in North Carolina.
But I will say, like, I do love the opening shot, because I feel like a lot of movies, a lot of horror movies, actually, yeah, just a lot of movies in general will like open with this scene of this like overhead shot that's like following a car. And so, you know, it's this overhead shot following a car along these cliffs where they're driving, and, you know, Type O Negative is playing.
Let me rephrase that, Emma. Elizabeth Errett. It's a rendition of Summer Breeze by Seals and Crofts, and it's Type O Negative doing that. And shout out to my brother David, who loves Type O Negative. Also, shout out to Seals and Crofts, because I love that song.
And it's hilarious because it like is so grungy. It feels very like Nirvana. And it just, I feel like it just sort of sets the stage for this whole like just teen summer
90s
thriller, very 90s. It's just, I love everything about it in that aspect from like a nostalgia standpoint.
Same.
Yeah.
Takes me back to middle school.
Yeah. It's so fabulous. Yeah. And then basically, you know, again, it opens with them kind of with people just driving in a car on a cliff. We don't know if it's necessarily them. And it's 4th of July weekend. So it's summertime, 4th of July. They're having a big pageant parade in their small town to celebrate. And Helen, who is played by Sarah Michelle Gellar, is actually in this beauty pageant. And Jennifer Love Hewitt, who plays Julie, Freddie Prinze Jr., who plays Ray, and then Ryan Phillippe, who plays Barry, are all her friends. And they are watching from kind of like the balcony area of this pageant, and you know, lo and behold, Sarah Michelle Gellar wins the pageant. She becomes the queen. And Allie, I know you had a note about her in this particular first part of the film.
I did. Knowing that Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar are now married, funny because he really objectifies her in one of those beginning scenes. He talks about her boobies. And I'm like, do they talk about that now that they're married? Like, yeah, I'm like, sorry?
They're like, remember when I first saw you? Yeah. I know what you did last summer.
My opening line was.
He's more like, I know what you did 25 summers ago.
Good for them. I love a lasting marriage.
We do love them, and it's very precious.
But I just thought that was funny that how they met.
Yeah, no.
The objectification. So 90s.
I totally agree. Very 90s. But yeah, so after, you know, she wins the crown, they're all happy together. Helen and Barry, it seems, you know, we can assume at the very beginning that they're the ones that are dating, and then Ray and Julie are dating. So they go to like the pier, or, you know, part of wherever their small little town is celebrating the 4th of July. And they're like kind of hanging around, talking about how it's their last summer. And, you know, they're so excited for what's like going to be in the future. And they actually do run into Max, who is played by Johnny Galecki's character. And Max tries to, you know, ask if Julie wants to hang out, you know, before she goes off to college for summer. He's like not being pushy, but kind of like
a little pushy.
I think like some of the guys like Barry and Ray are kind of like, oh, he's being a little weird. Like, you know, probably like wants a little more than just to hang out. And Barry gets super in his face, like basically like throws him across like the walkway. And that's kind of like our first like piece of conflict in the film that we see.
I will say Barry is extremely aggressive.
Very aggressive. It's all that teen angst. I mean, Nirvana.
Yeah, love that.
Smells like Teen Spirit.
Does it? Or does it smell like Summer Breeze?
I don't know. Probably both. And then from that point, you know, they kind of settle things with Max. It sort of like diffuses, and all four of them are just like, let's get out of here. Let's go to the beach, you know. I don't know if anyone actually says it like that, but that's just how I'm thinking of it. And so, the next thing that they do is they go down to a local beach off of the cliffs that are non-existent probably in North Carolina, but they are for the sake of this film.
Jenner, California.
Yeah.
If you want to hit that up.
Yeah.
What I will say about them at the beach is, maybe this is me being stereotypical, but aren't most like summer beach hangouts for young kids, like in their high school day, fully crowded with bonfires, like not just 4 people?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, they go to this beach that's essentially just them and the bonfire, which, like, yeah, I agree. Like, here in California, those aren't empty during summertime.
Those are
especially
overcrowded.
But 4th of July?
Yeah.
You can't even get out of the beach after the 4th of July fireworks because the traffic is like 4 hours long.
Pretty sure you can't get into the beach
That's
because
true.
people have been camping out since 2 a.m.
Yeah.
The
night.
previous day.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. But yeah, so we have this like intimate shot of the 4 of them all, you know, hanging around a bonfire, and, you know, they kind of start to foreshadow a little bit about what this, you know, film is going to be about. Or they talk about an urban legend that they've heard of called The Hook. And this is actually a real urban legend, and it's told a lot of different ways, as urban legends are, depending on kind of like the town that you grew up in, the area that you're from. Some people claim that, you know, they're at like 2 people were at like a makeout, like hookup spot, and they hear a hook kind of like scratching across their hood. Some people say that, you know, they get out of the car and see someone like hanging from the top of their car off of like a tree branch or something.
I haven't heard
with
that
the
one.
scratching.
Yeah.
I've heard a couple of renditions of it. And so it's kind of funny that they are talking about the hook because, I mean, spoiler alert, you're going to see a lot of hooks.
You're going to see some. Hey, we're in a fishing town, unless we're in Jenner, California.
Yeah. Another thing I want to note here too is kind of simultaneously a little bit, we also get a shot up at the top of the cliffs of a man who is wearing, you know, a fishing outfit. You can kind of assume that he's, you know, probably a local town fisherman in some way. He's not super old, or at least he doesn't seem like he's old, but definitely like older than these high schoolers that, you know, the film kind of has the whole premise on. And he is sitting on the edge of a cliff, and he is holding a necklace with kind of like some sort of a pendant on it. And then that's really all we see. And
so I think we call that a slick, right? Is that what it's called?
Oh, yeah. So the jackets that like fishermen will wear, I think is called, a slicker. And we run into many a slicker.
Don't we?
In this film. You just wait.
Like, why are there some
They're all
infrastructure?
City slickers. But that's a film, actually, a different film that I really do enjoy with Billy Crystal. But anyways.
That is a good film.
Okay, so then the very next scene is we are done at the beach talking about the Hook urban legend, and now we are trying to decide who's going to drive, you know, because of the cliffs, and they've been drinking. They're definitely under 18 and under 21 for that matter. And
drink and drive.
Yeah, and it is decided, I believe, that Ray is going to drive, correct? Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character, yeah.
Yes.
So he is driving
Barry's car.
Barry's like nice little convertible, and
like little
very
rich
privileged.
boy,
Yeah, very privileged. Which, small side note, in this film there are actually a lot of themes of like rich versus poor. I feel like Barry has several moments throughout the film where he is kind of like berating Ray for not having as good of an upbringing as he does. And Barry is also just an asshole, essentially, a very privileged, entitled asshole. This is kind of like the first time that you really see it here. It's kind of like, well, I shouldn't drive because I have a lot to lose. But Ray, if you drive, like, you know, what is your life even worth, essentially? You know, then they start driving. They are, you know, taking off down the road, having a good time, listening to music. I mean, it's 4th of July. They harp a lot on like summertime, 4th of July, just like a lot of those themes.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot. I think that's why we kind of picked this for one of our summer slasher movies, is they really, really focus on the summer aspect of all of it. And not even just one summer, but we come back again next summer.
Everything is about the summer.
It's all about the summer. And they really focus on the 4th of July, like decorations throughout the town.
Yeah.
And again, typo negative, that Summer Breeze song in the beginning and like all of the fireworks towards the end of the movie. So they really emphasize the summer aspect of it, which I noticed that a lot. And I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a good point. And yeah, they just harp on it like so intensely. And I feel like they also have like everything about the town just is surrounded by like summer. Like it seems like fishing is at its best during the summer and all the shops are open late and, you know, people are vacationing. It's just, yeah, a lot of summer theme. So, you know, the next thing we see is they are having a good time driving, you know, through the cliffs in their best teenage lives, their teenage dream. You, me. Oh, no, okay. Sorry, Katy Perry reference. Yeah, Barry is being an idiot and he is hanging outside of the sunroof while Ray is driving. And he is just being a nuisance. He's like stepping all over Ray and Julie in the front seats. And then he drops a full handle of whiskey into Ray's lap and distracts him. And then all of a sudden, the next scene we see is literally a body hitting the windshield. Barry is covered in this man's blood because he kind of hit the man in the residual, you know, force from them hitting the guy in the first place with the car. He is in a slicker and they're just like, holy shit, we hit a man. So then now comes the pivotal moment where they are all talking about what to do next. So they are trying to figure out, you know, do we call the police? Like, is this man even still alive? Is there a chance they can call the ambulance and see if they, you know, can save this man's life? They do decide at one point that like, no, he did. What do we do with his body? You know, do we call the police? Do we wait for them? And they have an internal argument between the four of them where they're trying to decide what the best path is. Some of them, most of them, are off to have really great futures at college and have great jobs. And, you know, especially Barry and his rich entitled ass. And, you know, Helen is off to New York and Julie's getting into college. And they're all just talking about how this is going to affect their future. They're going to be dead meat. They're going to all go to prison if they tell the police. It's very traumatic. And it's definitely a pivotal point in the film of like, what are we going to do with this body?
Something interesting to me is like basically this pivotal point took 30 minutes into the film to get to. And the rest of it surrounds that, right? And it's kind of bizarre after that. And then I have a question for you, Emma. What would you do if you and I were in a car? We don't drink and drive, but if we somehow got into this crisis, what would you do?
My simplest answer would be obviously to call the cops and like, you know, try to help the person because that's me. But my putting myself in movie shoes answer would be, oh God, it's so hard because you and I feel like I know we could keep a secret to the actual grave.
True.
But I also know myself and like, even if I like forgot to tip someone like at Starbucks, I think about it for days on end afterwards. So I just don't know. I think I would be more like a Julie where it would eat me alive.
So that's funny because, I mean, we'll get more into this once we get through like the actual accident, but I think we think we're more evil than we are capable of being.
Yeah.
Because I would also probably just cry and call the cops.
Yeah. Like 100%. Like we set up that question as if like we're going to have any other answer than like tell the police immediately.
And my only answer is like I'd panic and probably have a meltdown.
Yeah. 100%. Like just for in case anyone's ever wondering, the right thing is always to alert some sort of authority or, you know, try to get someone help if you have hit them on a road.
I would hope so.
Southport, North Carolina.
Yes, but maybe not in San Diego, California. Maybe. I'm kidding. No. I would never.
Please don't cross the street in front of
us.
Yes,
please.
Please follow pedestrian.
I'm a clumsy driver, so like, please don't do that to me.
Yeah, Allie doesn't drive, so.
Oh, that's a story for another day.
Yeah, that's a story for another time.
Oh, it's not a bad story. No, I just don't have a car.
Okay, so great question. But then they kind of all decide that they are going to take this to the grave. And again, revisiting their like internal conversation that they're having, it's very manipulative. Definitely Barry is the alpha male of the group and he is making all the decisions. So he's just like, you guys, I'm sorry, but like I am not gonna let us go down for this. Like we're all innocent people at the end of the day. This was an accident. And instead of like most people that would be like, yes, it was an accident, we still need to like tell someone about it. He's like, yeah, it was an accident, but we are not even gonna get caught if it's like over his dead body. LOL.
Not well, funny but not funny. Yeah, it's really interesting. Like the commentary on rich versus poor in this film is so evident. And why are they listening to Barry just because he has money and he's the one? Like that's his car. So what?
Yep. So what, Barry? And they're all young minds. They're like 18 and under, and they're all very just easily manipulated. I feel like emotionally. But the next thing that happens actually is that one of their friends, one of Julie's friends, his name is Max, comes into the picture. He actually drives up onto them while they are trying to figure out what to do with this body, essentially. And they have actually at this point moved the body now to the side guardrail. And they see that Max is approaching in his car, trying to kind of ask them like, hey guys, you okay? Having car trouble? What's going on? But yeah, he rolls up and Max and Barry also have beef. So Barry just like doesn't like Max, kind of bullies him around. So, they're trying to get Max just like out of there as soon as possible because they don't want Max to also discover that they just hit a body and are now trying to figure out what to do. So then Max ends up leaving. The next thing that they're really trying to do is kind of figure out what to do with this body. They end up putting the body in the trunk of the car and driving the body to a remote dock. And this is a fun scene because they are trying to roll the body off of the dock. And in the process, go ahead, Allie.
I'm gonna interject. This scene was kind of funny. Not funny. Sorry, everyone. It was interesting to me because Sarah Michelle Gellar is kind of savage in this because they're all like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't push this body off this dock. And then Sarah Michelle Gellar is just like, move.
I will do it.
I will do it. And she basically just rolls the body off the dock.
While she's wearing her crown, by the way.
So that was one of my notes is through this entire ordeal, she is wearing the crown her like pageant crown the entire time. And I'm like, I feel like I would take my crown off. And Emma and I, fun fact, are both homecoming queens. And I'm pretty sure, would you have taken your crown off?
Hell yeah. Okay. That thing was off my head like the minute I was crowned.
Well, mine was not. I'm surprised I don't have mine on at this moment.
I can corroborate that.
But like...
She's actually wearing it.
I'm wearing it right now. Surprise.
Just kidding.
But if I was going through this crisis, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't want this piece of machinery on my head. And then... So this is where we get into so much trouble because she's a savage. She pushes the body into the water and then somehow it gets like knocked off her head. Great cinematography, or is it horrible? I can't really tell.
Yeah, it's like almost so bad it's good.
It's like so bad it's good.
Yeah.
And obviously the crown goes into the water and thus that's when Ryan Phillippe, Barry, has to jump in because...
Has to. It's his girlfriend's crown. Are you joking?
Well, here's what you and I started discussing is it's evidence. I think he's thinking with that head rather than, it's my girlfriend. No, it's evidence.
Sure. Yeah.
Please continue. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So yeah, Ryan Phillippe, Barry, he jumps into the water and into the... seaweed or weird things, which I think you also had a note about.
Oh, yes. I hate kelp. Period.
That was her note. That's it. Anyways, moving on. She hates kelp. Honestly, same though. Like lakes and oceans freak me out when there's a lot of vegetation. So
one time I went snorkeling in Catalina and I went through these tall ass kelp beds and I saw pieces of boat at the bottom. That's so I'm terrifying. Pretty scarred.
Yeah, that's really
Plus
scary.
Jaws.
Yeah, hello. Kelp means can't see.
Kelp means can't see, but also water equals Jaws. By the transitive property, death.
Water equals Jaws equals death.
Water equals kelp equals Jaws equals death. Water plus kelp plus boat plus Jaws equals death.
We figured it out, ladies and gentlemen.
A plus B equals C, all right?
So, yeah, while Barry is down there getting the crown, Of course, they use the kelp as a little bit of makes it a little mysterious of what's down there. It's also very murky. He sees a freaking body, or he sees the body that they dumped in there kind of float up, like the head, like the guy, but like his head.
Well, I will say it was his full ass body, and he stood like a wax figure.
Yes, he did. Yeah, Allie, I wish you guys could see. Allie did a very great rendition of the wax figure.
I'm doing it right now. I wish you guys could see it.
Pause for a quick imagination session.
Imagination break.
Yeah, and that is essentially the end of like
the
what
beginning.
Would be like the beginning of the film. The first like sort of just like everything that happened, and then you're just like, okay, what's next? And there's an immediate flash forward to 1 year later. This is where we can really dive into Julie's character. Julie, played by Jennifer Love Hewitt again. She is at college. It is the next summer, right before July 4th. You could just tell by looking at her, she is not handling this deep secret that they all have very well. She looks very, I think we were talking about it earlier. She looks a bit homely.
Yes.
And your girl is greasy. She's greasy.
Here's my commentary on the look. I get like they were trying to emphasize that she is stressed.
She's stressed. She's not doing well. She's not taking good care of herself.
Do we need those bangs?
No.
We don't need those.
No one needs those.
No one needs those bangs.
No. Please, no.
Please stop.
Oh my God.
So JLH, are you okay?
She's not okay.
She's not okay. So bangs are an issue.
They're so greasy. I want to give her some of those
Dry
oil
shampoo?
control sheets that we got from Bad and Bruja at Midsummer Scream this weekend.
Shout out. They emphasized her like not homely. She doesn't look homely, I guess, because she's pretty. She's Jennifer Love Hewitt, obviously.
But she just...
So they just really emphasized how bad she was supposed to look, and then emphasizing kind of the wealth deprecation of her character. And they nailed it, I guess, because we caught up on it.
Yeah, it was just, she's not doing well. She's having a really hard time. And then to make matters worse, she gets a note from her mom. And at the time, she, is apologizing to her mom for, her mom probably got her bad grades from the term in the mail. And her mom's like, no, like, I have another note for you. I don't know who it's from, like, here it is. And it's the famous note. And what does it say, Allie?
I know what you did last summer.
So it is, the famous line in the movie, what the movie is named after. And it freaks her the hell out. She starts crying and is immediately asking her mom, where did you get this note? There's no return address on it. Do you know where it came from? What have you? And her mom's like, what? What is it? Blah, blah. And she's like, nothing. Gotta go. Bye. And she immediately goes to a department store, which is owned by Helen's family. She goes there because she is trying to find Helen's sister, whose name is Elsa in the film, and she's played by...
I don't know her actual name, but if you've seen Billy Madison, Veronica Vaughn. So hot. I want to touch the boot. Yeah, anyway. Her actual name is, I think it's Bridget Wilson Sampras. Yeah. Bridget. Very pretty. She's also in...
3 names. Another 3 named...
Wow.
Okay, guys. The amount of people with 3 names in this film is insane. Like, I know we addressed it at the very beginning, but we've got another.
She's iconic because she's also in... Wedding Planner. Thank you. Oh, my goodness.
Which, side note, Allie is actually a wedding planner.
I am.
By trade.
Do you need a wedding planner? Contact me. So, anyways, I just thought I loved seeing her because, Veronica Vaughn.
Oh, Veronica Vaughn. So I also think it's funny here in this scene because Julie goes and visits Elsa, Helen's sister, at this department store that Helen's family owns. And it's funny because I love this one line. She's like, oh, do you know where I can find Helen? Can I get her New York number? Because Julie hasn't obviously been talking to Helen at all in the last year and is like, by all means, I think that Helen is in New York. And, that's where she said she was going to be going after high school, blah, blah, blah. And then it's funny because her sister Elsa goes, well, you can go find Helen right next door over in Women's Fragrances. And then it cuts to Sarah Michelle Gellar dropping, a tray down very clumsily at the fragrance counter. And Julie is like, okay, all right, now I found her. She's here and she's not in New York. So it's kind of funny. Again, with this recurring theme of, I feel like we see a lot with Sarah Michelle Gellar's character where it's like she peaked in high school very clearly. And this is kind of like our first example of like Helen didn't really go anywhere after high school.
But that's a small town girl living in a lonely world, you know?
Did she?
Classic.
Did she take
She took the midnight train.
Okay.
Yeah. But she just went back
went
straight
back home.
back to,
She went right back to North Carolina. She said, "Screw this." So yeah, that's pretty funny. I feel like to Julie's probably excitement, or at least not excitement, but maybe just like she's probably happy that she doesn't have to go far to find Helen because she just got this very sinister note, and now she can share it with her like old best friend. So, anyways,
Were they best friends though? I guess the outlier here is Barry because he's the supreme dick.
I also think sometimes in high school, sometimes you're friends with people just out of like convenience and what can they do for you in some way, you know, shape or form.
Yeah.
And just the fact that they like didn't even stay close after high school, after witnessing this very traumatic event together. Like I know you or like Erica, some of my other best friends, like I would 100% still be with you guys talking about my trauma and how affected I am by it every day. But maybe that's just this day and age. This wasn't the 90s. So
this is definitely not the 90s. And I'm pretty sure you and I would be laying in bed even if this
crying
was together for several years. Also, we would have called the cops.
And we would both have greasy bangs. And we'd be in prison.
That's true.
Hopefully they'd let us bunk together. Do you think they'd let us?
No, hell no.
So then at this point, Helen and Julie have reunited.
And it feels so good.
Oh God, that sounded
That
really,
was really
good in my headphones. I
Same.
hope it comes across just as well to you all.
I'm also staring into your eyes. So
You actually are right now. I feel like very much like, you know, you're just like, you have to look away because you're blushing. Okay, so they reunite. They kind of commiserate in the fact that Julie has received this very sinister note, and they're trying to figure out who it was. Who was it that could have possibly left the note? They don't really have a lot of answers. A lot of these are just guesses at this point. Oh, it could be this. Is someone just messing with us? You know, this and that. And they decide to bring it to Barry. And they go and meet Barry at his parents' home. It's very clear. It's his parents' home. Very, very nice home. As they're talking to Barry and trying to tell him like what's going on, Barry gets in his mind, oh my gosh, it's got to be Max, Johnny Galecki's character, because Max is the one that ran into them that night. It's the only living person that they know could have witnessed what they did. They're like, well, let's go find that guy and let's confront him. So they all go to the docks where Max apparently works. He's a fisherman.
Aren't they all?
Aren't they freaking all in this town? Barry confronts him. I like it because he starts out very like sweet. He's like, oh, hey, Max, da-da-da. And Max is kind of like, he says like some just like little shit remark to Barry, and Barry's like, hey, can we just talk real quick in the back privately? Then as soon as they get behind closed doors, he just throws Max like against like the wall and is like, what did you do? Da-da-da. And it's just questioning him like, did you leave us a note? How do you know what happened? You know, all of that stuff. They eventually give up. Barry finds, that, they don't think that Max actually knows anything. And, now they're kind of back to square one. But while they're at the fishing docks, they actually find Ray, which is a big surprise to everyone because at this point, no one has talked to Ray. Unfortunately, Julie and Ray also broke up. She's very clear about that. They find Ray at the docks. And again, we get another theme of Barry just being an asshole about Ray not going anywhere in life and just becoming a little fisherman.
I have something here that I took away, which is so random, but it's like the most 90s scene I've ever witnessed in my life is...
Which we love.
Ray and Julie are having a conversation, and she says, I don't blame you, but I don't want to know you either. And she just runs away. If you're watching the movie or if you're going to watch it after this podcast... just watch her run and realize how 90s that is. It's, like how you're flailing.
It's running away scene.
It's like a very scary movie-esque running scene.
Which we talked about earlier was funny because there's also a lot of odes to this movie in Scary Movie. So if you do watch this film and you get a little frightened, I understand. But maybe watch Scary Movie, the like comedy rendition after this. Moral of the story is that
we run a lot.
There's a lot of running away in the scene, and it does get parodied in the movie Scary Movie. So if you want a little bit of a lighthearted flick that is funny, that parodies all of these horror movies that we seem to be reviewing, then that's a good movie for you to watch.
And if you haven't seen Scary Movie, you're
What are you
probably
doing with
not
your life?
born in the same era we were born in.
But that's okay because we are inclusive to all ages.
I'm inclusive to everyone, but like, even so, you've not seen a Scary Movie?
Now we've hit essentially like the middle of the film here. Everyone's been reunited. The band's back together. They all talk together again after they've like confronted Max and they find out that, it's not Max that did it. It's obviously not Ray or anybody else that did it. They're still trying to like wrap their heads around exactly what happened and why this is like, why are they getting these weird notes and like things a year later? They all talk about how they found out actually what the identity was of the man that they killed. And his name was David Egan. And a little bit of his background story is he was a fisherman. He was a young guy. I think he was a couple years older than them. He did go to the same high school as them, but he was definitely out of high school at the time. And he was engaged to a gal named Susie. And he was driving in a car with Susie, got in a car accident, and Susie unfortunately died. And so David Egan was actually a year later, he was on the same cliffs that took her life. And that is, how he got hit by them on the car, as he was in the same area, kind of like, remembering her on the year anniversary of her death. So they talk a lot about David Egan, his significance to this whole thing and kind of like what's going on with that. And then we get our first official real slasher kill of the film. Unfortunately, Mr. Max is the first man to go. Max is, working still in the docks, and he is boiling some crabs. He's seemingly by himself in this area. There's a lot of steam because he's boiling these crabs. It's kind of hard to see. There's a lot of themes of like, trying to make it hard for your vision here. Oh, and sorry, what was that? Sexual?
Yeah, it went in the opposite direction.
Do you think of crabs? I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, my co-host here. So Max has crabs that he's boiling.
Your brain just went into so many weird directions. Let's keep going.
He gets confronted by the killer, and the killer, this is the first time we see like the killer officially too, and the killer is wearing a slicker and a fisherman's hat, and he has a hook in his right hand. And he kills Max by bringing the hook through his chin and dragging him over the barrels that he's boiling the crabs.
You know what's kind of interesting that I did not think of before isn't that kind of like a fish?
Yeah, 100%. Ooh, which is kind of maybe a foreshadowing. I mean, we already established that everyone's a goddamn fisherman in this town, but like kind of a foreshadowing too that not only like this man has the slicker and all the stuff, but is probably like a true fisherman who probably works on the docks, right?
Yeah.
And is like using his, his techniques that he uses when he's like actually fishing, which is kind of scary.
That is scary. And then just referencing what we talked about at the beginning, this is like the urban legend stuff that Emma was talking about, like with the hook, with the slicker, like with all those different urban legend, stories. So kind of now that I'm thinking about it, it's kind of interesting.
A little spooky. Yeah.
A little spooky.
And I think like we said, we've watched it several times now in the last like couple weeks, and we definitely notice like new things each time and like new pieces of symbolism. So yeah, definitely very interesting that I love that call out of like, he's kind of killing him like a fish essentially, or hooking him kind of like a fish. Max, unfortunately, sorry, bye-bye, R.I.P. Okay. So in this next scene, again, after Ryan Phillippe has kind of just been like, peace out, guys. Have a good life. Over
Deuces,
you. Don't care about any of this. Y'all are crazy. He decides to go to his boxing gym, which is randomly on the pier.
It's like on the pier. So, but like think about a gym being on a pier. I don't know why. Maybe I'm scared of water way too much, as I've alluded to, I guess. Also, do we want to talk about the Titan submersible? No, because I could talk about it for hours. That was my cat. I'm sorry. A gym on a pier does not make sense to me.
Can I rebuttal?
Sure.
Coming from working actually in the gym industry, it kind of makes a little bit of sense though, because gyms make a great spot for anything that's like a warehousey type building. So
warehouses belong on a pier?
There are warehouses on piers. I mean,
for fish.
But maybe they don't use it for fish anymore. Now it's for
gyms?
For fishing some fights.
Fishing some muscle?
fishing some steroids. I don't know.
So the other weird thing about the pier scene, like, again, I know I can't keep harping on that it's weird that there's a gym on a pier because my brain can't figure out how that happens.
I get why you're at a crossroads.
So for some context,
I understand.
No, for some context,
Yeah.
for people who don't know who I am or my thoughts, I'm scared of motorhomes because they don't make sense. So a gym on a pier doesn't make sense.
I don't think I knew that about you, and we should definitely unpack that later.
We can dive into that
Okay.
later.
Okay, good.
So motorhomes doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Gym on pier equals does not make sense.
There's a lot of math happening in this podcast episode, and I'm kind
for
of
somebody who's really bad at math.
Need a refresher.
Yeah. But anyways, also, I had a debate with my co-host and the producer earlier about in this scene in the gym, there's a Polaroid picture that's put in Ryan's Barry, his locker, and it's a Polaroid picture in 1997. So for me, I'm like, that doesn't make sense because I feel like we had digital cameras at this point, and they say no. Let's take a poll.
Well, we will do a poll on Instagram on whether you guys think that Polaroids were a very popular camera back in 1997.
Our parents had Polaroid cameras, but we didn't.
So the Polaroid was a photo of Barry's car.
But the Polaroid in Scary Movie was something else.
But this is also kind of a foreshadowing because, Allie, you just said it. Our parents had Polaroids, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, whoa.
Sorry, we're kind of alluding to who we find out the killer is later, but we'll get to that. Just think about that for a second.
Let that resonate. So,
yeah, could have been a person who's a tiny bit older, maybe in their 40s, 50s, that has a Polaroid camera because that's something that they, it's an easy, just prints right out, something that they used a lot, right?
Wow.
In that time.
Emma.
We're going full circle here. Connecting the dots. Solving the math equations here.
The math equations that I'm not equipped to solve.
Okay, so in this scene, though, Ryan Phillippe, again, shirtless, because of course, why not? They're going to take every opportunity to have him shirtless in this film. He is in the gym. He is just wrapping up his boxing session. And he even talks to like the owner of the gym, and even the owner of the gym makes a comment alluding to the fact that they're the last two people in the gym that night. And Barry's kind of just like enjoying his late night gym session, what have you. And he starts getting freaked out, I believe, when he's like in the locker room, right? Like he's like about to take a shower or does take a shower. And, he starts hearing things. He's kind of like, who's here? And he gets a little irked that, he's not alone in the gym. But then I think he feels a little bit better that when he leaves, he's just like, okay, it was just me and the gym owner, like not a big deal. So then Barry is walking outside to his car and again starts hearing weird things, kind of getting a little, just like he's kind of freaked out. He's very aware of his surroundings and he sees someone is in his car and they turn on the headlights directly facing him.
In his rich ass car.
They turn on the headlights and immediately start driving towards him. And so he starts running for his life. And they essentially get in this kind of like cat and mouse chase with like the person driving his car, and then Barry. And I'll just, spoiler alert, it ends with basically the car drives Barry through like a building or billboard or some sort of old wooden, piece of structure. And
on a pier.
And the last thing that we see is Barry's body just like laying on the pier. And we don't know at that moment whether he's like made it or not. Then skip ahead very quickly to the next scene. Barry is in the hospital.
Well, before that, he says something sort of like ridiculous and kind of funny. Help me. And like,
he does say help me an ungodly amount of times.
A lot of times. And I'm like, privilege?
Like, I should be helped?
Yeah. The funny thing is, like, he doesn't have anything, like, yes, there's blood on him, but there's nothing visibly, like, stopping him from getting up.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was making note of it. Just get up.
Yep.
Also, I have never been hit by a car on a pier.
So we can't comment.
So don't take our word for it.
So the next scene, they are at the hospital because Barry has, he has scratches and wounds and we don't know exactly what's wrong with him, but he's definitely got some visible scratches on his face. basically all four of them meet at the hospital. Barry is obviously in the hospital, and then Julie, Helen, and Ray all join him there. And I think that this scene is hilarious because they're all talking about what happened to Barry, and they are talking about just the whole situation and how they think that they like ran over someone and that this person is now getting revenge on them while their freaking hospital door is wide open and they're talking very loudly. So it just makes me laugh that like they're talking in a hospital room, being loud and talking about how they think that they killed someone and that person's after them. But anyways, that's my biggest note on that scene.
You know what's funny is high schoolers, just can't take them anywhere.
Can't take them freaking anywhere. So I think like once they're all kind of reunited in the hospital room, they decide that it's probably a good idea to look into this further now that Barry has been attacked. And
Or like, never mind. I was going to say, or just let him go.
Just let him get attacked.
That was a rough take. I'm sorry. But like,
I mean, yeah. But they all decide that they're going to try to figure out what's going on. So I know Julie, she's kind of like the final girl in this film. And she's sort of like, let's see what happened. Let's do a little bit more digging on this David Egan guy that we apparently ran over. Like, what's his connection? Because obviously someone is torturing us, because his body washed up ashore. So they're like, okay, it can't be him. Like he died, but maybe it's like a family member or a friend or someone of David Egan's that like is doing all of this. So then Julie and Helen look up some news articles and they find some news articles about David Egan and his like family. And they find out that he lives, that actually, unfortunately, I believe his father had passed away, and, they find an article too on Susie, his girlfriend, that had passed the summer before, or 2 summers previously on 4th of July weekend also. They find out that David lives in the sticks, quote unquote, which is kind of funny because you could argue that Allie and I grew up in the sticks in San Diego.
Also, the house that they go to is like kind of nice.
It's actually like not that bad at all.
Yeah.
But anyways, I would live there. And they go and they try to talk to David's surviving sister named Missy.
Who is played by R.I.P. Anne Heche.
And fun fact about Anne Heche is she was actually in the 1998 version of Psycho with Vince Vaughn.
Correct.
And actually quite a big build cast. I think we said like Julianne Moore was in it. Vince Vaughn. Julianne Moore, a couple of other people too. So, but we love Anne Heche. We definitely miss her. We're sad. R.I.P.
I will also make note of the film that I really enjoy called 6 Days, 7 Nights that also has Harrison Ford and David Schwimmer. She stars in that as well. So check it out. R.I.P.
God be with you.
And with you.
And with you. And so they go and visit Anne Heche, who plays Missy, David's sister. She's a little weird. You can tell she's like a little out there, definitely a little like country gal. She's just out in the sticks doing her daily chores. They essentially find out from going there, they act like their car is broken down and that they needed to call AAA. And so while Julie is trying to get some info from Missy, the sister, Sarah Michelle Gellar's character, Helen, is trying to do a little bit of exploring, see if she can find anything in the house, what have you. They end up leaving and they find out that Missy, the sister, said that, David apparently had a friend named Billy who visited shortly after David's death. And they're very curious now about this like Billy Blue character. They say he was like, pretty handsome and very charming, what have you. And, it's very vague, like all of the descriptions, like very vague, but they're kind of in their head like, oh shit, is it Billy Blue that has like, is the killer, So they don't know for sure. The next scene that we walk into is Helen. She gets home, says hi to her dad. Her dad's downstairs and is watching a baseball game, drinking something. And, she kind of goes upstairs to her room. And immediately when she walks in her room, we see several symbols of like her peaking in high school. And again, we talked about this a little bit earlier in the podcast, but it's just like, there's like ice skates that she has hanging up. There are sashes from pageants she's done, her crown. There was also, some like cheerleading pom-poms. Like this gives a lot of allusion to like, she peaked in high school. She's not doing anything with her life now. And like all of her success has essentially revolved around like vanity in some way, or very performative.
Well, performative and like her And what you're about to say will lead into what I'm going to say, but her beauty too.
Mm-hmm.
So
like she seems like a very insecure gal that like her beauty means a lot to her and it gets her a lot of places.
So a lot of, women have these nightmares about teeth and skin and body weight and all these different things. And then we see this performed in this movie, which is the cutting of the hair. And I don't know about any of you guys. I personally have fake hair. So,
And I don't any longer, but I can say that like we've definitely had nightmares of like when our hair was very long and real and healthy. Like you sometimes have like, I feel like you can get an identity sometimes by your hair, especially girls who have like really long hair and they're sort of just like known for that. Like Sarah Michelle Gellar's character throughout the entire film has very long hair in the very like, well, not the entire film, but the like beginning, the first half.
Yeah.
And then the killer in the scene steps into her home, walks upstairs to her room, and hides as she's getting ready for bed. And then as she is sleeping, he cuts her hair into a horrendous haircut at the time.
And it's like not the funniest thing, but like almost the saddest thing is like that was probably the most traumatizing part of the movie to me is because as a woman, I'm like, oh my gosh, my hair.
Yep. And I think you guys can all like we were talking to the producer about this, and to him he was like, that is so not a big deal compared to like what some of the other characters get. And I mean, I can agree, like nothing physically happened to her. She did not get hurt in any way physically. But I feel like some of you guys could agree that it's very traumatic, especially when you're very insecure. And that's like maybe your one thing that you cling on to is like, oh, I have really great hair. Or, again, she was like known as this like beauty queen, this homecoming queen who has this beautiful hair. She was supposed to go off to New York and do all these great things. And then like
she's working in a department store
She's working in a department store in town, not doing anything with her life. And like now here she is,
Relatable.
But anyways, another thing that's funny about this scene is there is hardcore Diet Coke product placement.
Oh my gosh. So many sponsorships right there.
Yes. I think Diet Coke actually shows up several times throughout the film, but this is like one of the biggest ones is she like pours herself a glass of Diet Coke before bed. And honestly, made me thirsty. So it worked.
Do you like Diet Coke?
No.
Oh, so it did work.
It worked. I was like, one please for me.
None for me, thank you.
None for me. More White Claw. Thank you.
More White Claw or Gatorade, I'm not sure.
But an important last part of this scene is at the very end. She wakes up and the word soon is written in lipstick on her mirror. And again, she looks in the mirror, sees that her hair is all chopped, and the killer put her crown on her head while she was in bed sleeping, which is insane and psychological warfare, in my opinion.
I have a couple of thoughts about this is all of those things are like such kind of what Emma and I were just talking about is like the beauty concept.
Yep.
And
lots of themes of beauty.
Vanity. Not our friend Beauty. We have a friend named Beauty. We love you, Beauty.
We love you, Beauty.
She did our artwork. Shout out.
Yeah. Shout out Dakota Paints on Instagram.
But so that beauty pageant, the beauty queen aspect is very heavy in this. Also, I feel like I'd feel somebody put a crown on my head.
I'm sorry, what? Oh, like you'd feel it when you were sleeping? I can 100% say that you personally would not. Because
oh, perfect. Cool. Because I probably had like 7 White Claws and then...
Yeah, I think you're down for the count. And I could put all kinds of crowns on your head and you'd be fine.
You know what? It's not funny, but funny is I'm pretty sure several people can say I've put like stacked pillows or
you
suitcases.
Have.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. Oh, no.
I actually know.
Were you there?
There's one person who can corroborate the story with me who is a family member of yours. But I did help pile a full pile of pillows on top of your whole body and head one time when you fell asleep on the couch.
Was it a Christmas party?
I think it was just a normal day. Just a Tuesday. Just a Tuesday, And we had...
Can't wait for my mom to hear this.
We had a big laugh. Oh, I think she was there. I think it was at your parents' house.
She was probably doing it with
She was probably helping me. Lisa, you were probably helping.
She was probably doing it.
And I think I have several photos, so I'll have to dig those up later. But, but yeah, we piled a bunch of pillows on top of you. I mean, we made sure you could breathe. Don't worry. But your head was kind of turned to the side and, we piled pillows on top of you. So.
I'm still alive.
So right after Helen's character finds her hair cut in the middle of the night and the word soon written on her mirror in lipstick. We flash forward to Julie. And this is one of our favorite scenes we've been talking about, actually. She is in the car and she is hearing some clacking noises. And she's like, what the hell is that noise? What is in my car? She pulls over and she opens her trunk because she notices that the sound is coming from her trunk. And she finds Max's body covered in live crabs in her trunk.
Also, what I'm going to say is maybe controversial, but I'm apologetic to anybody who worked on this film, but like, oof, the dead bodies didn't look great. So that's my hot take.
Probably not a lot of budget put towards visual effects, but you know what? You tried your best, and thank you for that. Thank you for that. But we've definitely I think we can acknowledge that we've come a long way.
We have come a long way.
90s.
You know what? High five.
High five. Oh, just we're kind of far away from each other. But
Too far away to high five.
Yeah, so she's freaking out. And then it kind of cuts to like now Helen and Barry are there with her because she must have called them.
I have a random question. Again, we're not from North Carolina. Is that a big crabbing city, North Carolina?
So the producer is telling us that it is.
Check you on that one.
Yeah.
Later.
So anyways, but I also think it's symbolic because Max also like works at the crabbing thing and that's where they last talked to him.
And maybe that's his zodiac is, what's that?
Cancer.
Cancer, yeah.
So two of my favorite people are Cancers. Shout out my mom and Erica.
You don't like bulls?
I never said that I don't like Tauruses. Okay. I just said two of my favorite people are Cancers. Okay.
Okay.
Allie is a Taurus and she's stubborn as hell, as you guys
See?
can tell. So, but I love her. Okay. So then, Julie connects with Barry and Helen and they end up coming to her where she like pulled her car over on the side of the road because she freaked out about the body in the trunk. And she's like, you guys, oh my God, there's a body, like blah, 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 like come here, da, da, da. They open the trunk and there's no body. No body, no crabs, no nothing. So Julie looks like she is certifiably insane. But this is a fun scene because they're talking about like Julie just kind of goes off the rails and she's like, Helen, they cut your hair. Barry, they almost killed you. Like now they put a dead body in my trunk. Like they're obviously trying to send some sort of a message and like, what do they want? Blah, blah, blah. And then she screams and I'm going to let Allie reenact it.
What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for?
But like very, very loud and in the middle of the street with like her hands up.
Yeah,
like,
I'm trying not to scream into this microphone.
Yeah.
But if you've also, and if you haven't, again, I guess maybe this is an endorsement for the Scary Movie film.
I think it is. Like
Okay.
I think people need to like rewatch because it's fantastic.
For sure. So
I'm also pouring more wine.
Oh, poor my girl. But it's a really famous line. What are you waiting for? And she's like spinning, and it's so 90s. And then they reenact that in the Scary Movie,
And she kind of like runs off like flailing her arms, and it's like a classic like 90s like character run where they look very awkward.
And we're bringing it back to flailing their arms,
We're bringing it back. We're bringing it
Yeah.
back.
So there's your line. If you want to put that on a t-shirt, then do it.
So also about this scene where she screams, "What are you waiting for?" We were looking up some just fun facts about this film, and apparently there was some sort of a contest going on where they were allowing like a young child to come to the set and kind of help like quote unquote like direct the film. And I think like when this child came to the set, they were filming this scene. And he was actually the one that suggested that she yell out to the universe, "What are you waiting for?" And Jennifer Love Hewitt has famously said that she thought at the time it was like so weird. And she was like, "Oh, I don't like this at all." But they just like went with it. And it's now a scene in the movie. And this was decided by a young child.
And it's been parodied and it's iconic. Obviously, it stuck with my 32-year-old ass.
True. The next thing that happens after this is Helen is also a little bit concerned that she has to crown the next like pageant queen, and she has to be a part of like the 4th of July parade or whatever. And she's just like not feeling safe. She's like, hey, someone cut my hair in the middle of the night. They could be after me. They could be like trying to kill me. Again, like Julie had found a dead body in her trunk at this point. So they're all a little on edge. I think Barry has a little bit of a breaking point where he's just like, okay, Ray has to be messing with us, like, or doing all of this. Like, he must be the dude. And Barry confronts Ray because he thinks he might be behind it and like punches him. They get in a little bit of like a scuffle or whatever. Then it kind of jumps to the actual parade. So now Helen is on the float. She is, about to renounce her title as, the pageant queen. And
as we know how that feels.
We know personally, because we had to do that when we were homecoming queens at our high schools. You have to like pass it on to the next person. This makes me laugh a lot because Barry... Helen obviously wants Barry around for safety. Like, she wants to be safe and,
even though like I wouldn't trust Barry to do shit for me.
It's very just weird. It's just weird. Like, I get why they haven't like talked to the cops yet at this point, but like also too, it's just like, if you guys are really like that concerned about your safety, I don't know. Anyways, Barry is seen literally sitting on the very front of the float in front of where Helen is sitting. And it's hilarious because he just looks like he's all mad and he's just like looking around like, I'm going to find this guy's in the crowd, blah, blah, blah. But it's like so not realistic to like an actual parade. Like, they would not just let a random ex-boyfriend of the previous queen pageant girl's like boyfriend be on this float just sitting there in the front. He's not even like waving or being like, he's just like not even acting like he's part of the production.
But what if he was like the quarterback?
We don't know that though.
But like, what if he was?
But yeah, I mean, maybe, and he just like looks like the badass rich boy getting to do what he wants. Again,
and
another example. And he's hot. Okay, whatever. Yeah, I literally wrote in my notes, not sure why Barry is on the float, LOL.
But I put not sure why he's on the float, but he's hot.
Okay, so we added a little bit of a note there.
Yeah.
Simultaneously at this point, Julie is like trying to find some answers. So after she finds Max in her trunk with the crabs, and now like Max has disappeared, crabs are gone.
I'm sorry. I can't not laugh at that.
Yeah, Max has crabs, but the crabs are gone. Julie's like, I need some more answers from David's sister, Missy, Anne Heche, R.I.P.
R.I.P.
And she goes back to try to find Anne Heche's character and is like, I need some more answers. I need to ask her some more questions. And Julie confronts her in the backyard, and Anne Heche has like a knife because she has just cut up some chickens because she's a country little mouse. She's a little country mouse, and she's just trying to provide.
She's a country mouse, but like, so are we. And I'm pretty sure I never cut up a chicken.
No, because we're not that country.
Oh, and you know what? We shouldn't say that because I love everyone country.
No, we do. We respect everybody in the agricultural industry, just to make our stance clear. But yeah, she confronts Missy, David's sister, and is like, hey, we need to find out like some more information about like what happened to David, blah, blah, blah. And Anne Heche's character, Missy, is like, I know that David killed himself. Oh, Julie she confesses. She's like, we hit David that night. Like, we killed him. She literally tells Missy. Like, this is what happened.
Yeah.
Like, I promise you. And Missy is like, she's still convinced in her head, that is not what happened because he left me a note. And then Julie's like, I'm sorry, what note? And Missy is like, he left me a suicide note. And it says, I will never forget last summer.
Cute.
The scene moves back to Helen and Barry, and Helen actually spots the killer while she's on the float, like looking into the crowd. And I want to note here too that there are several men that are in slickers and like fishing gear. And in July,
so
how could you wear a friggin' slicker in July at a parade?
At a parade in July?
At a parade in July.
In July.
It is so hot.
And again, we're not from North Carolina, but let us know how
hot
sweaty,
is it in July?
Yeah.
And how sweaty would you be in a friggin' slicker? Then we jump into immediately Helen being back at the stage where she won the Miss Croaker Queen competition, which is kind of interesting. But she is, handing off her crown to the next winner of the pageant. She's on stage and, she's still a little bit shook up because obviously she thinks that she saw the killer in the crowd on the parade. And Barry is in the same spot where they were at the very beginning of the film when they watched Helen win the crown. Barry is at the top balcony looking at Helen and like a dumbass is by himself because he thinks he's hot shit and that he can, fight anybody. And, because he survived this attack, that he's like immune from everything. Helen watches him get attacked by the killer.
There's a couple iconic lines in this film. One I already said, so please refer to that.
What are you waiting for?
Well, thank you. And then this one is also in, again, maybe I should do PR for Scary Movie, the movie, because this is also in that. Behind you.
Yeah, she's trying to alert the entire crowd of like what happened, and it's hilarious because even the producer and I were talking about it because we watched like the ending of the film again last night, and we were saying that it's so funny because if someone was screaming, like picture yourself as like someone on a stage and you're trying to tell someone, oh my God, I see someone literally in the balcony getting murdered right now.
And no one's listening to you.
No one's listening to her, and they stop her, but they don't stop her for long. They stop her for maybe like 5 minutes, but it's enough time, right? To where he's gotten killed by this killer. And by the time they get up there, of course, like there's no body to be found.
Also
crazy.
Knowing how essentially, not for lack of a better words, lazy this killer is. Dragging
lazy. So lazy.
Lazy acres.
Lazy acres.
So
great
knowing so expensive. Knowing how ill-equipped this murderer is, like if they can drag that body that fast.
Yeah.
The
timelines just don't make sense.
It does not make sense. 90s, you know what I mean?
So anyways, so the people in the crowd are trying to stop her, like, what's wrong? Blah, blah, blah. But like, she's like, dude, like literally, honestly, if it were me, like if the producer was getting murdered in the rafters, no one could stop me from getting up there.
Ooh, you know what's sad?
They could stop you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kevin.
It's not even, it's on me. Like,
yeah, no, totally.
I'm just slow.
I'm sorry, but no, I would hop over people like, I'm sorry, but let me take that guy myself. I'm like, I'll rip that slicker off.
Would you do that for me though too?
No.
Oh.
I'm just joking. Of course.
Ouch.
No, of course I would. Of course.
Maybe I would do it for you, but we can talk about Kevin later.
So, she's freaking out. Obviously, the cops come because she's making a pretty big accusation to, like a normal bystander that's just over there. Oh, I saw someone get, killed up in the balcony. So the cop comes, gets her, is like, I need to take you home, miss. Your parents are wondering where you are, blah, blah, blah. And the cop brings her into his vehicle. Again, she is freaking out still. She's like, my boyfriend, I saw him get murdered in the balcony. But I will say when they did go up there to try to investigate, they didn't find anything. However, there is a little scene when they're exiting the place where they're holding the pageant where there's blood dripping from one of the banister edges. Obviously, no one noticed it, but it's a little like
so 90s.
Little detail for all of us that are viewing it. She's in the cop car with the cop and he's driving her home. Very small town cop, not taking her seriously, very much just like, kind of like not making fun of her story, but sort of just like, okay, sure. Yeah. Da, da, da. And she's like, I'm trying to tell you the truth. Like this and this and this happened. And like, this is all real. Not really listening. They have to go through an alleyway to get to her house.
A what way?
An alleyway. Alleyway.
Cute.
The parade was just in town. And so there are some barriers up for certain streets that they couldn't go down. So anyways, they have to go down an alley. The cop comes up to a man who is at a truck who has broken down. And it's very clear to us as the viewers that this is obviously the killer or the man, right, of the hour. She's like literally trying to tell him like, do not go out there. And he's like, oh, just let me stop really quick. I'm going to see what this guy needs, blah, 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 blah. And like true fashion, I feel like they always try to make cops look really, really dumb in films. And I want to make it clear that like we are not against cops, but they definitely try to make cops look very, very dumb in horror films.
I think the 90s horror films for sure.
100%. They make this cop look very stupid. She's like yelling in the cop car, like trying to tell him like, no, do not go. Like that guy's bad news, blah, blah, blah. And he turns around towards her so that his back is to the guy, the killer, who is, trying to pretend like his truck was broken down. She's like trying to tell him like, turn around, like he's going to get you, blah, blah. And the cop's just like, oh, it's fine. Like what are you, blah, blah, blah. And of course, gets killed.
You know what's funny is I haven't actually made that observation, but that's a really good one, is that they really, like, they portray law enforcement as
just stupid.
Like,
and not helping them in any
Yeah.
way, you know? And then she has this moment where the killer, you know, he has now killed the cop. And so she's freaking out. Honestly, this scene did make me second guess, like, or kind of think about, like, if I was in a cop car where you can't get out, right? Because the whole back seat is like barricaded for people that are getting arrested and stuff. Like, how would you get out? Like, obviously, she kicked the window out, which is very unrealistic because windows do not kick in that easily.
Also, these days, a family member of mine is a sergeant.
Amazing.
And he brought it over to the family reunion, and you cannot kick through a cop car.
No, you can't.
Window.
Yeah, it's very unrealistic.
No, there are bars on the window. You can't.
Well, so there's that. Helen crawls through the cop car window and starts running. She runs away from the killer. And again, we've talked about this many times, but he's just walking. He's really not trying to catch up with her or anything like that. He, you know, is chasing after her, and she actually makes it to the department store that her sister works at, that her family owns. And she makes it to the department store. She's banging on the door. She's like, Elsa, open the door. Like, I need to get in here. Her sister is like, why are you freaking out? She's like classic older sister, like, you're being dramatic, like, you know, whatever.
But also very attractive.
And then also, like, I guess also very attractive. She opens up the door, lets her in. And Elsa is like, what the hell is going on, Helen? Why are you freaking out? You know, yada, yada. And Helen is like, you need to call the police immediately. We need to go lock the back door. Like, you know, all of this stuff is going on. So she is trying to trust in her sister to go and lock the back door while Helen goes upstairs to try and call 911 and try to get more cops like around. And in this process, unfortunately, her sister, Elsa, does get murdered by the killer who has now come into the department store. And now we get to my personal favorite scene. And watching it again, it's not as great as I've like always remembered, but I think for some reason I have like good memories of it in my head. But I really love a scene where Helen is now trying to get out of the department store, but also trying not to get killed. She comes in contact with several mannequins that have clear plastic on top of them. So they kind of look like real people just standing there, right? And she's weaving in and out a couple of these mannequins trying to get out. And I think she's also just trying to figure out, like, is the killer in here? Is he not in here? You know,
also,
what have you.
Why not just like get the F out?
Agreed. But for the sake of cinema.
Got it.
And then you just see this one mannequin that you can tell has the, like, you know, the slicker on and the fisherman's hat and everything. And you just know that's him. And then there's a jump scare and he like comes out of the plastic and goes after Helen. So that is my favorite scene. It is my favorite scene, I think, because it's just stuck with me for so long, like for years and years and years. I don't know if it's like that amazing of a scene to some people, but truly it's just one that has like always stuck with me. Helen now runs out of the department store. She escapes, you know, the killer temporarily. She runs into an alleyway, and unfortunately, she does get killed in the alleyway because right outside the alley, it's almost like she sees the light at the end of the tunnel. Right outside the alley, she sees a parade of people, and there's a band playing and there's fireworks going off. Hence why they did not hear her screaming or getting killed in the alleyway, which is a little unrealistic because like I feel like someone would have noticed like some sort of commotion going on in the alleyway, but they definitely make it a point in the film to be very, very specific about like all the noise that's happening.
Since it's constantly 4th of July.
It's constantly 4th of July. Constantly.
Perhaps there is a lot of noise.
That's I tried to tell the producer, like we were talking about it, and I was like, honestly, because if you think about it, at a 4th of July parade, you're not thinking like, I should keep my ears open in case someone's getting murdered. Now we get to the part of the film where we're kind of like wrapping things up and we're kind of finding out like exactly who this person is. So Helen has now unfortunately been killed. And now our whole focus is back on Julie and Ray. And Julie has now discovered it was not David Egan, like that is after them. But she sort of figures out in her head that like, oh my gosh, it's David's girlfriend Susie's dad, and his name is Ben Willis. And he is probably the one that is terrorizing them for whatever reason. While she visited Missy that last time, and found out that he left that so quote unquote suicide note that said, "I will never forget last summer." That's really where Julie kind of puts two and two together. And she's like, wait, that is not a suicide note. That's actually a threat. And she's like, that's a threat towards David. And who would have made that threat? What is it that David did? He was part of Susie's murder. And so who is the likely person to bring some revenge to the table? And that is Susie's dad, Ben Willis. Julie, when she goes to visit Ray, she's trying to visit Ray and tell Ray what she has found out from Missy, from her latest visit with Missy. She's like, hey, it was not David who's after us. It's some other person. I think it might be, the dad of Susie. She notices that Ray's boat is named Billy Blue. And that is exactly the person that Missy, David's sister, said had visited the house. And so she puts two and two together that Ray is actually Billy Blue. So then she starts freaking out because she is on the boat with Ray. And she's like, oh my gosh, you are part of this. And thinks that Ray, there's a slight chance that Ray could potentially be part of all of this and be in on this. Ray is obviously trying to convince her otherwise. He's like, please, no, it's not me. That's not he basically says, I think he actually does say let me explain, what have you. And she's running, she's trying to get away from him. And then there's a separate man, random man out of nowhere, who's like, oh honey, come on my boat. I'll call, the authorities, blah, blah, blah. Don't worry about it. Yada, yada. And as trusting as she is, little sweetie. So she gets on the boat with this random man. She sees Ray. Ray's trying to get to her, but sorry, offshore now. Can't get to me. As she starts to explore the boat a little bit more, as this man is quote unquote going to get help for her, she starts to see that she is on a boat called Sweet Susie, which is the name of David Egan's girlfriend that passed away 2 prior 4th of July's. She starts to see the inside of the boat, and there is so much stuff, including photos of her and all of her pals, Helen, Barry, Ray, and all of these those little the bulletin boards that have the connect the dots with the yarn and all that stuff. And she's like, oh shit, this must be the killer. So I wrote in my notes, Julie finds out that Ray is Billy Blue, but she gets on a random boat. Hello? Because that is something I say when people are just acting crazy. I'm like, hello?
But me, and I'd get on a random boat.
That's what freaks me out about you.
I know.
And that's why I can't leave you alone.
I know.
So in this scene too, while Julie is in the boat and she sees kind of all the connect the dots of Ray and her and Helen and Barry and all of this stuff that she sees on the boat. And something important to note too is in the very, very beginning of the film, we actually see a shot of David Egan alive, and he is sitting on the cliffs, and he has a medallion in his hand. And we can assume now at the end of the film that it does belong to Susie. Her dad actually has that medallion on the board in the back of his boat when Julie is back there and when he has her on the boat. You kind of put everything together and you come to the conclusion that Ben Willis was seeking revenge on these kids that actually hit him in the road, not David, because that night Ben actually killed David because of what he did to his daughter. He blames David Egan for the accident that took his daughter Susie the 2 summers before on 4th of July weekend. And again, bringing back this whole 4th of July theme. We just can't stop with the freaking 4th of July, but
that's on me. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Ben is very upset because he is getting kind of revenge on them because they never went to the police. They never helped him. They dumped him into the water, leaving him for dead essentially.
Savage.
And so savage. And so he's after these kids. It was weird to me because I'm like, why wouldn't you just turn these kids in for doing this to you? But I guess it makes sense that he wouldn't, because then he would be giving himself up for killing David.
Yes, but
it's a very weird story. It's a little bit messy. It's a little messy. It's a little mudded.
Messy.
But, as I think probably real life murders probably are very messy, and there's a lot to them, and, it's not cut and dry. So anyways, this is the first time that we see the killer's face, and he walks in to the room that she's looking at, and she's trying to be chill. She's like, and he kind of makes a few comments alluding to the fact that he knows who she is and she knows who he is. And he kind of makes a comment about them getting away with murder. It's very, very gnarly. And as this is happening too, I want to point out that Ray is also trying to kind of save her. So he has taken a little dinghy boat out, and he Pirates of the Caribbean's his way up onto the boat. And
So Jack Sparrow. So Jack Sparrow.
Very hot. Very hot. Very Jack Sparrow. We love Jack Sparrow. And he makes his way onto the boat. You know, this like kind of like fight ensues essentially between Ray, and then also, you know, she's trying to hide and get away from it as well, which is like what lands her into this area that has a lot of ice. She makes her way to the bow of the boat, which is the very front of the boat, and she makes herself deeper and deeper into the boat. And I will say one question we all had during this whole thing is, why couldn't she just jump off the boat? Like, I get it. Like, you're kind of scared. The ocean is dark. I totally understand. But if someone is like potentially going to kill you, like Ray is going to come and get you. So like, it's going to be fine.
This is a fact that nobody cares about.
But nobody asked for.
And nobody asked for, but I thought it was super interesting. All of the ice in the movie is made out of gelatin because obviously you don't want to work with real ice when you're shooting several takes.
It's to keep the actors comfortable.
Yeah.
Which is sweet.
There you go. Next time you watch this.
Yep. It's gelatin.
Take a look.
And Julie finds herself into a huge area that is filled with ice. And she's trying to hide from the killer. And in the ice, she finds Barry and Helen's dead bodies. And so she's freaking out. And it's all coming full circle.
And I'm going to circle it back to the bad makeup. I'm sorry. What?
But I will say it looks like From the House of Wax. Which is I love that movie. With
Paris
Alicia
Hilton
Cuthbert.
And Paris.
Jared Padalecki.
He's in that?
Yeah, he is the Bane.
Oh my, you guys.
He's so hot. We're definitely doing that one.
Okay.
Oh my God. I love that film, actually. Wow. Add it to the list.
Cool. Love that for us. But it's not great. The visual effects in this movie. It's not even visual effects. It's just like the...
I think me and the producer maybe laughed when we saw one of the bodies
I
in
was
the
like,
ice.
when I was watching it, I was like, are you serious? Not that I could do a better job. But...
No, yeah. I mean, we're not talented, so we give you all the props. But,
yes.
But yeah, we just want to be
we're talented.
but not in special effects makeup.
We're also not talented.
But we're also not talented. Jennifer Love Hewitt's character, Julie, is hiding. And then Ray is now, he's on the boat. He's commandeered the boat, as they like to say in the Pirates of the Caribbean. He's commandeered the boat. Him and the killer get into a fight. And now we know at this point, too, that this is Susie's dad. Like, we know that the killer is Ben Willis, which is Susie's dad, and he is out for revenge. Essentially, the fight scene ends with Ray getting Ben Willis's hand caught into a pulley, and he gets pulled up the pulley. His hand gets chopped off, and then he gets dumped into the ocean. And once they are able to come back to shore, you know, they talk to the police and they tell the police everything. You know, we see one of the more famous scenes, I would say, at the very end of this film is that Julie and Ray are at the very end, you know, being comforted by the police. I feel like there's always those classic scenes where people are in blankets while they're like at the back of an ambulance as like the whole, you know, scene is getting investigated, what have you. And there's a scene where they pull up a net from the water and you just see Ben's hand with the hook, but you don't see Ben's body. So to wrap up this film, just one last scene that really gets you. And it is 1 year later. This is a perfect contrast to what we saw when Julie was, you know, we got that first year flashback of her in college. Now she's in college. It's her second year in college and she's doing way better. You see her, she's like happy. She's on the phone with someone. She's like making plans. She's super stoked. And she's
her bangs look better.
Her bangs look so much better. She's not greasy.
Yeah.
She was literally on the phone about banging Ray.
Oh, shit.
And they were making like some sort of plans for that. So that's exciting. Excited for her. And she goes into the shower, the little co-ed showers, right? And there's a beautiful little scene of her. It's like everyone loves it. She goes in the shower. It's very, 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 very steamy in there, like almost like overly steamy. She's about to walk into her little shower stall and she sees on the pane of the shower stall, it says, I still know. And then right there is a huge jump scare where the killer comes through and it's like scary and then the film's over. But Ali, I would love to hear your hot takes.
Okay, I got a couple, you guys. I don't have that much to say about this movie because I kind of hate it.
She goes, why don't I have any hot takes? Oh yeah, I hate it.
Hot takes by Ali. Ryan Phillippe. Hot. Period. Oh, you disagree?
This is not my type.
He's definitely my type.
I know he is.
He's hot. And then I checked producer's knowledge about crabs in the Carolinas, and he's right.
It is a major...
It's a crabbing town.
It's a place that has crabs.
Or crabbing city.
Everyone has crabs
or state.
there.
Oh my gosh.
So many crabs.
Also, I didn't get to mention the outfits are so 90s, and it kind of kills me because do I love it or hate it? I'm not really sure.
So I think in this day and age, like, I don't know, I feel like we love it because it's nostalgic to us, but we also hate it sort of because it is coming back. And like, just like fashion, it's recycling itself, right?
Just like I'm recycling myself.
Yes.
Got it.
At all times.
Cool.
Our cells are regenerating.
Cool. Yeah. My summation is I hated this movie. And
these are her hot takes.
That's my hot take is I think it was a perfect start to our summer slasher series because it literally has summer in the title.
It does.
And it
does.
Concentrates around 4th of July every single day. Hey, cool. Good for you.
We do love 4th of July.
Yes, we do. Ryan Phillippe's hot and I didn't like this movie. Yeah.
And I think another question we need to ask, because we asked this in our very first podcast, is did you think this movie was scary?
Oh, good call. No.
I'm going to say no as well. And I do think a lot of movies are scary. It more to me was like, I feel like just like nostalgic in a weird way. And I know that I said like Poltergeist was nostalgic too, but like this was nostalgic in a not scaring me way, but in more of just like I don't know. I feel like when I was like a teenager or like even younger than that, I just thought it was like a cool horror movie. Do you know what I mean?
It's like The Craft.
Yes. Like not necessarily scary, but still kind of creepy. Like, I think it has a creep factor a little bit. And obviously, like, it's like the genre that it is made in is a horror movie. Yeah. I don't think it was like super scary.
It wasn't super scary. One day we'll get into what our scariest movies are.
Well, and I do want to preface, like, as you guys get to know us, like, one thing I will tell you right now is slasher movies do not scare me as much of a lot of other movies do.
This is just kind of like campy to us.
Yes, camp, fun. It's like obviously these were, and I love like films that are influenced by other films. So obviously like Jim Gillespie, who directed this film, like he had a lot of odes to other things that we could tell just like throughout the film. So it was great.
And we love all of those little like mentions, even if we catch them very briefly. But we can't wait to tell you what really freaks us the F out.
Yeah, we're definitely excited to dive in. So as we are kind of getting towards the end here, we want to answer our trivia questions. So as a reminder, question number 1, which character is the first to be killed? Allie, what was your answer?
You go first.
Mine was Susie, because technically in the story, she was the first to be killed. I don't know if we're going to classify her as an actual character, but sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. So what's your answer?
Not that one.
My other answer was Max as the first character. So the producer told us
I did not get that one right. I'm just going to be straightforward about that.
He says, although it wasn't shown, David was actually the first to be killed by Ben Willis. So I will say, aside from Susie, my next one was going to be David. So yeah, the answer is David there. Yeah, because you do see him on the edge of the cliff. At the very beginning of the movie, you do see him at the edge of the cliff alive.
Fine.
And then, yeah. We'll give that to you.
I think we both got this next one correct.
I hope so.
Let's repeat the question.
So the next question was number 2 was what 1998 TV series was referenced in the name of the main beach in the film? And that is Dawson's Creek.
James Vanderbeek.
Hell yeah. So we actually talked about this a little bit before the film, but when we were just even like reviewing our own notes, we were talking about a fun fact was that they called the beach Dawson's Beach, which was like an ode to Dawson's Creek. So thank you for that. So then question number 3 is after Helen's hair incident, what side dish did Julie say that the killer made out of Helen's hair or her head? And Allie, I'm going to let you tell me your answer first because I know I got mine right.
Mine's for sure wrong.
What is it?
Spaghetti.
Is spaghetti a side dish?
That's why when you said
Is
side
that
dish,
not a main dish?
it depends on how hungry you are.
Okay, so pretty positive the answer is coleslaw.
Oh, you're right, huh?
Julie says like something along the lines of like he made freaking coleslaw with your head.
I'm gonna give
like
myself
he chopped up her hair.
Word. I'm gonna give myself creativity points though.
Okay, but I just want to say I got 2 out of 3, so I won this round.
Oh,
The answer is a head full of coleslaw, which I got right. I knew I got it right.
Creativity points.
So I win. And that concludes today's episode of Spooky Chicks and Horror Flicks. We love you all. Thank you so much for listening. And just a reminder to follow us on Instagram at Spooky Chicks Horror Flicks. And please feel free to listen to us on any podcast that you are listening to your podcasts on, whether that is Spotify, Apple, or anything else.
And please feel free to leave us a 5-star review because you love us.
And if you don't love us, don't leave us a review.
Don't leave us a review. My name is Morgan if you don't like me. Just kidding. I love you, Morgan. In all seriousness, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Love ya.
Love ya.